When I first stepped into product leadership after years as a successful product manager, I made the same mistake I've since watched dozens of others make. I assumed the skills that got me here would be the ones I needed going forward. They weren't. Here's what's fascinating. I've been promoted from individual contributor to product leader 4 times across 4 different companies and industries. Sony in 2003, Universal Electronics in 2005, Qualcomm in 2008, Here Technologies in 2017. And not once, not a single time, did anyone sit me down and say, Michael, here's how leading product managers is fundamentally different from being one. I was just thrown into the deep end and expected to swim every single time. So the result was that I learned through painful trial and error what I'm going to share with you today. A framework that I've developed over the last number of years I call the 6 personas of product leadership. This framework didn't come from business school or leadership books. It emerged from the trenches, from making every conceivable mistake a new product leader can make, and then watching others repeat those same mistakes. The central insight is that product leadership isn't just product management plus people. It's a distinct discipline that requires you to embody different leadership personas depending on the situation. So today I'm going to focus on one persona that Franklin Roosevelt mastered better than perhaps any other leader of his era, the Vision Translator. In the book Leadership in Turbulent Times, there's a line about Franklin Roosevelt that perfectly captures this persona. Quote, Roosevelt's gift of communication proved the vital instrument of his success in developing a common mission, clarifying problems, motivating action, and earning the people's trust. End quote. This wasn't just rhetoric. It was leadership alchemy. During the Great Depression, Franklin Roosevelt wasn't just communicating policy. He was translating overwhelming complexity into actionable clarity. As a product leader, this is precisely your challenge. You'll fail spectacularly, as I did, if you can't translate things like technical complexities into business outcomes, or abstract vision into concrete next steps, complex trade-offs into clear and obvious decisions, and organizational politics into team protection. In each of these leadership transitions, I discovered this the hard way. At Sony, years and years ago, I could define the technical and operational details of our e-platform with exquisite detail. But none of that mattered when I couldn't translate why it mattered to executives focused on different metrics altogether. By the time I got to Here Technologies a number of years later, I had figured this out somewhat, fortunately, and I was able to articulate the value of our developer strategy to non-developer-centric executives and teams. I guess I learned from previous mistakes, right? The grand secret I wish someone had told me earlier is that leading means something fundamentally different at this level. It means translating vision across organizational boundaries. So most product leaders I've seen make 3 critical mistakes. 1, they communicate details when others are looking for direction. 2, they'll translate logic when others are looking for purpose. And 3, they'll focus on the what and the how when others are really needing the why. So if you're like me and vision translation isn't your natural strength, here are a couple of concrete steps I've used to help develop this capability over the years. First, I create modular explanations. So every time I have a new vision that I need to internalize and communicate, I develop 3 versions of it. A 30-second version, a 3-minute version, and a 30-minute version. It's not about dumbing it down. It's about creating strategic communication. 2, I practice translation, not repetition. So when someone doesn't understand, don't just repeat yourself louder. Instead, take a step back and translate your message into their frame of reference. What are the metrics they care about? What outcomes are they interested in? And number 3, seek ruthless feedback. I used to ask my teams regularly, what part of our vision is still fuzzy to you? And then I would sit back and listen without defending. And those gaps would reveal where my translation was failing. When I think back to those 4 leadership transitions, the difference between my early stumbles and later successes ultimately came down to this. I stopped assuming that others saw what I saw, and I started deliberately translating vision in ways that resonated across different organizational contexts. In the coming weeks, I'm going to share more about the 6 personas of product leadership framework I've distilled down from 20 years of successes and failures, so you don't have to learn everything the hard way. But remember, even mastering just this one persona, this Vision Translator, can dramatically accelerate your effectiveness as a product leader. Because as Franklin Roosevelt knew, when people truly understand where you're going and why it matters, they'll move mountains to help you get there.